Hi everybody, this is Matt from Charity Box. I've got a video today on the topic of marketing automation and what you can do to make it work for your charity. So as I said, my name's Matt. I'm the founder of Charity Box, a company that designs and builds websites for charities. I've always been interested in technology and how we can use it to make people's lives better and improve society in general. So I tend to work with charities at the smaller end of the scale, around £500,000 a year income. That makes up a huge portion of the market, so there's a lot of work to be done there. You've got some of my contact details on there should you wish to get in touch with me after this video. So this video is going to cover a few things. We're going to look at what automation is. It's a bit of a buzzword, means different things to different people. I'm going to show you some working examples and show you what you can take away from them. And then we're going to look at when to use automation and conversely when not to use automation. So automation is defined as the automatic operation or control of equipment, a process, or a system. So the idea is you spend a bit of time setting something up and then it runs automatically with minimal or ideally no intervention from yourself. But what does this mean for marketing comms? Well, it means that you can automate away repetitive tasks which enable you to save time. A good example of this would be when you go on holiday and you set up an autoresponder to automatically respond to incoming emails, to tell people when you're back in the office, because you don't want to be responding to those emails manually each time. You can develop systems to generate opportunities, and you can put processes in place to nurture supporters and clients. So for example, if somebody comes through to your website and they donate £10, they may get one type of email, but if they donate £50, they may get a different type of email from you. So you can set up automated processes to nurture your relationship with those supporters based upon different types of criteria. So what does this mean for charities? Well, you get to reduce the monotony, so charity staff don't have the overhead of doing things manually. You get to seek out potential new supporters, and you get to improve the engagement that you have with your current supporter base. So in short, you get to be more impactful, more efficiently. And what can you do with automation? So we've got a few logos there, some of which I'm sure you're familiar with. You can automatically send out emails to subscribers via MailChimp and other systems like that. You can automatically share content on social media from your website, and you can automatically respond to visitors using a chatbot. So you can kind of see from these examples that we have different marketing techniques and different ways of engaging people using automated tools. So let's jump into a few examples. So the first example is from YouthSpark, a charity based in the US. And what they do is they help young people who are at risk of human trafficking. And they wanted to create an automated system to deter potential perpetrators from the act of human trafficking. So they set up a system whereby they put an ad online with a telephone number in it. And this was designed to lure in human trafficking perpetrators. And if anybody phoned the number on this ad or sent a message to it, they would get a response come back automatically, an SMS message, saying that their number had been flagged, added to a database, and made available to law enforcement, and thus creating a deterrent. And they did this using a number of tools. They used Twilio to automatically send that SMS, and they used Airtable to add the number to a database. So they actually did set this up, and they used a system called Zapier to bring all of these services together. So YouthSpark managed to create an automated human trafficking deterrent system using hardly any tech knowledge and very little funding. It's a great use of technology. Example number 2, the NSPCC. So they run a number of events each year, and what they wanted to do was help automate their fundraiser journey. So if somebody signs up for a marathon 6 months before the marathon begins, they would get a different set of emails to somebody who signed up to do a marathon 3 months before the marathon begins. And you can kind of see that tailoring content in this way helped to boost engagement with those emails because it was more tailored to that person at that time. So it saved a lot of time for the NSPCC, and it also saw an increase in engagement from that email campaign. The RSPCA. So the RSPCA used a system by IBM to create a programmatic email campaign for people who were looking to rehome animals. So the idea was you went along to their website and you filled out a form and you basically specified your perfect pet. And against that criteria, whenever new animals came into the RSPCA, if your criteria matched that of the animal that was becoming available, you would then get an automated email to notify you of that. So this more sophisticated use of data led to more animals being rehomed. And as you can see, over 3,000 people signed up in the first few months of this going live. And finally, Shelter. Shelter in Scotland decided to put a chatbot together in response to changing legislation for people renting in Scotland. Now they knew that with this new legislation coming in, Shelter would be inundated with very, very similar questions. So instead of bothering all of their admin staff and their telephone service people with answering the same questions over and over again, they put a chatbot in place. And as you can see, it was set up for an initial 3-month trial, and it had over 6,500 interactions during that time. This was a few years ago, and if you look at the website now, you can still find that chatbot is live, so it must be working for them. And effectively, what it helped to do was free up staff to deal with more complex queries. And that's really what automation is all about. It's freeing up people to do their jobs better. So that's a few examples of automation there, but automation is not in itself a silver bullet, and we shouldn't treat it as such. So in some instances, you probably would choose not to use automation. So for example, if you have a small data set, or if it's incomplete in some way. So when you try and send out personalized emails to people, for example, if you don't have their name, it makes it a lot harder to do that. So in those instances, I may opt for more of a manual approach. If automation will frustrate, so we've all spent time on hold when phoning the bank. I've had to jump through a number of hoops, pressing the hashtag, the hash button, the star button, saying yes and no, and going through their telephone system. Obviously, banks get thousands of calls a day, and they need to have these processes in place. But smaller organisations, maybe not so much. So automation is all about having a good balance between how it serves the company and how it serves the end user. And those two things must be kept in good balance and not frustrate people. If automation frustrates people, it's doing its job. It's not doing its job. And if the personal touch is preferable. So for example, if a long-term donor passes away, it might be nice to send a handwritten letter to that family, to the family of that person, thanking the donor, rather than some sort of automated mail merge that's quite impersonal. So if the personal touch is preferable, then that is often better to use over automation. So looking at a few tools here, I mentioned Zapier earlier. That's what's called a service integrator. So it enables you to pull together various different tools to make something different. Similar to Zapier is If This Then That and Tray.io. I mentioned email software. MailChimp is probably one of the leaders that you're probably familiar with. And chatbot software, IBM Watson, is an obvious one. If you Google that, you can go and actually set up a demo for free without having to sign up to get an idea of how chatbots actually work. It's very important to kind of get a handle of this technology on a basic level, I find, if you're looking to actually utilize it in the future. So there's some of the tools that we've covered today. So that's the end of the presentation. I'll put some contact details in the description for this video. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave a comment in underneath this video or get in touch with me directly, and I would love to speak to you more about all this kind of stuff and help out in any way that I can. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and I hope you found it useful.